The following video shows the ABRSM Marksheet for a Grade 4 piano exam, recently taken by one of my students. By looking closely at the examiner's comments, you'll be able to see what they are looking out for. Although we could obviously not video the real exam, you can see a video of a live mock exam I gave this student just before their exam, with my own comments and estimated marks, which might be interesting to compare. First piece, Allegretto by Vanhal. The tempo was well chosen and pulse remained consistent, despite some unevenness in the left-hand quavers at times. Tone was suitably light for the style, and there was evidence of dynamic colouring throughout. Semiquaver passages needed some refining, otherwise this was an assured performance. 26 marks out of 30. It is interesting to note here that the tone needs to be chosen suitable for the period of music. Marks may have been lost for uneven rhythms. Second piece, Waltz in A by Zelensky's. The opening called for a softer dynamic, but the tempo was appropriate for the waltz style. Tone occasionally lacked clarity with heavy use of the pedal, and pulse was compromised with hesitations in the second half. An engaging performance nevertheless. 25 marks out of 30. As with the first piece, tone and rhythmic continuity feature in this comment, and notice there is not a mention of getting the notes right. Third piece, Bowchickawowwow by Ben Crossland. The funk style was well achieved with some effective, well-attacked articulation and a clear sense of pulse. There was scope for more dynamic variation, otherwise this was well involved and characterful. 27 marks out of 30. All three of the comments for the pieces in this exam end with mentioning the performance. My advice to students is, if you enjoy playing it, the examiner will enjoy listening to it. Scales. Let's start with a scale of E-flat major. Scales were played at a good tempo and notes were mostly secure. Errors in E-flat major. Tone was occasionally uneven, and F major contrary motion had slips. Arpeggios were played accurately. 17 marks out of 21. Maybe you are starting to see a pattern here with the examiner's comments. It's not just about the notes. With regard to scales, tempo and tone also play a role in the final mark. Sight reading. A cautious approach, but the tonality was clear and notes were largely correct. Hesitation, sadly, meant a pulse wasn't clear. 15 marks out of 21. The rather low mark here is mainly due to the lack of continuity rather than wrongly pitched notes. In sight reading, keeping the pulse going is of great importance. Oral tests. First of all, I'd like you to just sing back a short phrase I'm going to play for you twice, okay? Let's see which one should be. Okay, here is your key chord, your starting note, okay, and the pulse, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And here it is again. The sung response had inaccuracies, but sight-sung notes needed one prompt only. More elaboration was needed in the character question, and the clapped rhythm had errors. 14 marks out of 18. Despite it seemed slips in all the questions, these oral tests attained a pass, showing that if strengths outweigh the weaknesses, you will not fail in this section of the exam. As I said at the beginning, you can watch this student doing a mock exam which I gave him just before the real one, and compare the comments and marks I gave with those you have just seen.